Okay, so hi, I am Dilly Briggs, and I am with Center Stage Magazine, and I am speaking with the very funny comedian, Mr. Josh Denny, for our On the Spot Talk segment of the magazine, where fans actually get to hear their favorite entertainers talk, not just read about them. So, good morning, Josh. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm sitting in lovely Los Angeles traffic, so that's always fun.
Oh, yes, definitely. So I'm really glad I was able to speak with you this morning. Comedians are one of my favorite types of entertainers. So I usually like asking, what brought you to comedy? What was that thing that made you want to take the stage for a living?
Well, I guess I've always liked comedy ever since I was really young, and I was a musician for a lot of years, like all through high school and everything else. So the performing part was not something I was unfamiliar with, and I think for me, making the step to doing stand-up was really just about finding a way to connect the way that I was funny with my friends and amongst groups of people with actually performing it. And I just kind of had that light bulb moment back in 2006 and went and hit my first open mic, and I was hooked, from that point forward.
So for your first open mic in 2006, you're like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So it's something that's always kind of come natural for you then. You've always been funny and you've always liked getting up there and performing then. You're not shy about anything.
No, the performing part was never tough for me. It was really just about, being funny on purpose. It's different being the funny guy who can kind of cherry pick parts of conversations with your friends or make fun of people. But, it's different to go up there with a plan that these are the things I'm going to talk about. These are the things I'm going to try to make funny, and be able to do that consistently. So, but yeah, it's like heroin. You're addicted immediately the minute you try it, even if you're really shitty at it.
Well, you look really comfortable. I've seen all your YouTube's videos, and you do seem at ease once you're over there. I like to go see comedians. I've seen a good number of comedians, and I've been doing reviews on them. And sometimes you can tell when somebody's, nervous, and other times you can tell when they're just completely at ease, and it just seems like it's something that comes naturally to them. And you seem like you're somebody that when you're up there, you just seem like you're talking naturally, like you're talking to your friends or your family. So you do seem comfortable, which is always good because then, you get that, oh, this is going to be funny because he's relaxed, he's at ease, he'll easily go back and forth with the audience. I really liked your joke about how, redheaded people are endangered species. There's only like 4 of you left. I thought that was so funny because I'm like, wait, 6, because I have 2 nieces that are, the whole shebang, right, whiter than white. They have the red hair, freckles, everything. They can't go outside without sunblock before turning into bacon. So it made me laugh so much because I'm like, I get that. I totally get that because they usually say, we're the only ones. We're the only redheads in our school or wherever we go and stuff. And of course, your impressions with the Tracy Morgan impressions, that was spot on. I just laughed so hard at that. Do you get people always asking you to do your impressions?
Yeah, I don't really do a lot of impressions. That's probably one of the only ones that I've ever done in my act, and and it's something I'll bring out once in a while because it was just sort of a funny inside joke that friends of mine had that every time I would impersonate any famous black person, it would be that same voice, which just sounded like Tracy Morgan. So it's not so much that I make a point of doing impressions, but there's a couple of character voices that I will do, inside of a bigger joke. So.
Yeah, oh yeah, because that was so funny. It's like, oh my God, you sound just like him. And just the jokes about you going through the drive-thru using his voice. I was like, oh, that would just crack me up. And your Sean Connery impression's pretty good too, I thought.
Yeah, I guess. Is it hard to do a Sean Connery impression? I don't think that's a particularly hard one to do, but.
Well, any impression for me would be really hard. So I think that's awesome for anybody doing anything like that. I think that's hilarious. So
it's interesting that you bring that up because when I was newer in comedy, probably in the first 3 years, most of what I did on stage was almost like narrating ideas for sketch comedy. So, like, the joke you're talking about, or from the clip you're referencing, I was basically taking what would have been a hilarious animated sketch and just walking the audience through that concept on stage. And so I think the transition you probably see, or I hope people see, from, like, my early stuff to more recent stuff is I've changed my stand-up into more traditional stand-up, and then those ideas, like you're talking about in that first clip, end up becoming kind of slotted where they're more appropriate, like taking that and making it an actual sketch or making it an actual animated short versus trying to force that into stand-up, if that makes sense.
No, it does, because I got the little story that you said, and it was so funny. It just had me cracking up. We actually put it on the we hooked it up to put it on the television, and actually we had a few people over here. So I'm like, look, I gotta watch all of these so I can catch up on everything. I've been doing reviews with different comedians, so I kind of had a house full of people as we were watching the clips, and we were all cracking up, and it was like, oh, that's actually a really good Sean Connery, and just your little impressions were hilarious.
Making fun of the formula for Pixar and Disney movies. Because they all kind of fit the same formula. And now, like, lately I've noticed that they all have sort of this very dark tone to them where, it's almost like you're waiting for that next Pixar movie to come out where the guy commits suicide and then goes on some sort of adventure in the afterlife. Just very, it's creepy. The movie's gotten really creepy where, like, somebody almost always dies in the first.
Yeah, they are starting to get to that. They definitely are, starting to get into that. I like their last ones, though, with all the emotions, the Inside Out. That works for, like, families like us with children on the spectrum, because it gives them an idea of how, everybody has these type of emotions and stuff. But, but I have noticed they are starting to get little by little like that. But, it's good for us adults, too. At the same time, we're still entertained with the kids being entertained, too. It's something that we could be interested in. So now I know you have been almost a full-time comedian for almost 10 years now, and that you do host your own. Are you still hosting?
For 10 years, but I've been doing stand-up for almost 10 years.
Oh, okay. Are you still hosting? Because I saw in there that you were hosting a monthly show in Santa Monica. Do you still host that show?
Yeah, I produce that show, so sometimes I host it, sometimes I'm just one of the scheduled performers on it. It just depends on the show. I produce it with another comedian named Adam Todd Brown, and usually one of us hosts, and then one of us will do another spot on the show.
Oh, okay. Well, tell the fans, where they can catch you at. What is the name of the show, and when and where they can catch you?
Yeah, so the show's called The Darkest Hour, and it's once a month I think it's the second Friday of every month in Santa Monica at the West Side Comedy Theater. And it's a late show. It starts at 11:30, but it runs just about an hour. And the format of the show is we bring comedians in to do material that's their absolute darkest stuff.
Oh, okay. That's why it's called that. Okay.
Right, exactly. So it can be a mixture of things. Like sometimes it's comedians that are normally known for doing darker material, and then other times they'll have comedians that really never do dark material. And so that's kind of the fun of the show, is that you'll see some people doing that, because it's their normal thing, and then other people are kind of being challenged to get out of their comfort zone and go to a different place or a different point of view to write jokes and perform it. So
yeah, it gets their feet wet.
And to me, it's more fun watching the generally cleaner and more lighthearted comics try to do that show versus the people that we know can, do it because they do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because so this way you give them a chance in a format to be able to get their feet wet in something different that they normally would not do, and maybe not take that chance to get up on and do that type of a show on, like, say, a 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock date time type of segment, and
it's sort of that's the time slot that people that like that kind of stuff would want to go out and see that kind of show.
Yeah, all us late night freaks. Yeah, that would be me.
Around the table. But yeah, and it's sort of like my personal challenge to the comedy community and to the industry that you can make anything funny if you're talented.
Yes.
And if you have the right point of view and the right frame of mind, you can find humor in anything, even if it's really tragic or really tough. And and I think this show has done a really good job of allowing comedians to prove that, not just to the audience, but sometimes to themselves. Like, one of the best sets we ever had at our show was from a young comedian named Jen Murray, and she did a 10-minute set about the day that her dad killed himself.
Oh, wow.
You would just on the surface think, well, there's nothing funny about that, but it was one of the funniest 10-minute sets we've ever had on the show. So, that's the kind of stuff that show is built on, and if you're a fan of comedy and you want to see something a little bit different, then come out to our show in Santa Monica. The next one is this Friday, so.
This Friday, so at 11 o'clock or 11:30, and it goes for about an hour.
November 13th, Friday the 13th. So.
Okay, and that's in Santa Monica, and you said that was what was the name of the club again?
West Side Comedy Theater.
West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica, so you heard him.
You can get tickets at westsidecomedy.com.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. You heard that, where you can get tickets, everybody. I think this is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great release for a lot of the general public. What you do for a living is something that a lot of us people want to go and see. It's something that is in demand because it's something that makes us feel good when we leave. We feel that, we've laughed a lot, and laughter really is one of the best medicines. It does drop your cortisol levels. It does drop all your stress levels, and it makes you feel good when you leave. And I think that's wonderful that you do this. I also saw, now I'm hoping this is up-to-date information, but I also saw that you are also going to be doing your first stand-up special called Provoked. Is that correct? Yeah. And when is that going to be taking place?
We're hoping to film it in probably February. So we were originally going to film in December here in Southern California, but the director actually booked a gig working on a pretty big show out in New York. So he'll be tied up until, I want to say, February, but our goal is to film probably the second or third week in February. It's exciting. I've done a couple albums already, one in 2008 and one in 2012. So the cycle has kind of been doing, a new hour of material every 2 or 3 years. And so when I got around to that time now where I had about another hour together, the question was to do another album or to try to do something different. And we decided to do a special. And, a lot of specials you see are generally kind of safer investments in the sense that there are these large production companies that, primarily what they do is make stand-up specials, and so they'll take a handful of comedians that have been doing it for a while and produce their specials, and it's a big deal to do one for an hour. We're trying to do something that's a little bit different with my special, where it kind of gives you an inside look into the process and, sort of an inside look into, I guess, my path in the industry of comedy. So, with being a kind of comedian that talks about the subject matter I talk about and in the kind of state of comedy we're in right now, everybody's kind of very standoffish for any comedy that might make people uncomfortable. And, so we've always had a very grassroots approach to building that fan base and building sort of the market around that stuff. And I think I have a very unique approach to managing my own career and being selective about the kind of material that I do or the kind of fans that I want and those types of things.
Yeah, because then you have more of a lead of where your career goes.
So not necessarily a special that we're trying to make for everybody to just, let's make something that's going to be easy to sell because everyone's going to love it. It's really more about making something that's very true to me and true to the kind of people that like what I do.
Yeah. Well, then that's where you also get your true fan base from people who will follow you around and see you go, oh, you know what? I like that he did this, or I like that he touched on that. I think it's great. I want to go see him again. Opposed to somebody who, like you said, just in general, oh, it's funny in general, but then you get a lot of people who could be funny in general and there's not any specific type of stand out for that comedian. So, I mean, something like this would probably have you stand out a whole lot, and you probably have, a fan base specifically for that, So
Yeah, and
I think it's wonderful.
it's more of a concept special too, because it's sort of all built around this idea of, you know, this idea that thinking differently is something that we react very aggressively towards when anyone challenges us to do that. And the word provoked is interesting to me because we really only use it when we're talking about how people respond to two things, being provoked violently or being provoked to think. And it's interesting to me that those two things, we use that word to describe two things that, to me, are very different. Like, it shouldn't be as threatening to be provoked to think differently as it is to be provoked to react violently to something.
Exactly.
When you look at the way people respond to things now on the internet and everything else, you see that they're really rooted in the same base part of people's personalities where, if someone thinks differently than them, they almost react violently in some ways, and you see a lot of that around the world. So the challenge with the new special was, do I just want to take another collection of an hour of jokes of things that I think are funny, or do I want to try to take that next step as a comedian and write jokes that are specifically targeted to talk about an idea or a way of thinking? And so this is really
something that will provoke people.
Something that I want to do for the fans, but something I think is a good challenge for me to take the next step as a comedian.
Well, I think that's awesome. I loved that title when I saw that, provoked. I was like, oh, that's awesome, because like you said, it could mean so many different things. Provoked into what? Into laughing, into thinking about this particular comedy that you're looking at. Is it, just, I thought it was a great title. It's a catchy title, because then you don't know exactly what it is you're going to provoke. So it kind of makes people want to go and see that. I mean, I would be intrigued. I'd be like, well, what is he provoking? Is it politically correct? Is he, is it just funny stuff? Is it, like you said, going to the dark side where a lot of people don't want to go into that because it does make others uncomfortable? And I think you're right. I think a lot of the late night people that try to catch comedians really late at night are the ones that know those are the comics that are going to go into different types of stories and a little bit darker, because they're the ones that stay up late at night to see the things that happen late at night where others are asleep. So I think that's great. I loved the title, and I would definitely come out and see it.
The industry, I feel like the industry very much discourages, comedians from my generation from taking those risks. So you look at the great comics of our time right now, who are, in my opinion, sort of a generation ahead of me, like guys like Bill Burr or Louis C.K. or even Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I think those guys are a lot, Lynn and Pryor, and some of those comedians who, while they were being funny, they always sort of left you with a distinct understanding of a point of view. And a lot of times it was kind of counter to what the majority of people just safely assume about everyone.
Yes.
And it's very much discouraged with comedians coming up now because it's harder to sell and you can't profit from it right away versus somebody who's just doing comedy that everybody likes, right?
Yeah, you have to build that fan base to begin with.
Machines at work where they're going, well, we want, if everybody wants people that speak the progressive, then we want non-threatening, diverse voices in comedy. And then the unfortunate thing is you end up with 100 people at a comedy festival that all end up sounding the same because they're all, Indian or Asian or black or gay, or they all fit some box that they're trying to fill. And the reality is that there's, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a unique point of view.
You're breaking up just a little.
Along with someone based on where they're from or their religion or any of those things.
Yeah. Well, because like you mentioned, Chris Rock and Louis C., they're comedians that they say what's on their mind. They speak what's on their mind, and a lot of theirs has to do with how they grew up. And Chris Rock did not grow up, in a fancy, house and everything. So he talks about a lot of his life and his struggles. And so a lot of their acts do go to the dark side, but they're still funny at the same time. But you're right, you don't see a lot of comedians going to the dark side anymore, which I'm going to definitely definitely have to come and catch the show there in Santa Monica, because I'm very interested to see the show that you host there, Darker Side of Comedy, and catch some of those acts as well. So I think
it'll be good.
It'd be wonderful. So when is Provoked planning to be out? You said you're going to start filming maybe in February, second or third week of February. How long is the estimated time for that?
In February, and then we intend to take it out to market and try to sell it, and see what we can do, and then at the very least, we'll probably just put it out on my site if we're unsuccessful with that. We'll put it out on my site probably somewhere in June. But, once we film in February, like we're going to film in Los Angeles at a very small venue. And so for any of my fans or any of your, any of your audience that become fans, if they want to participate in the filming, they'll be able to do that. I'll have information for that on my website leading up to the filming in February, and then we'll obviously use social media and everything to keep everyone posted on the progress.
Oh yeah, that would be great, and we could definitely help along in that as well. And what is the website that fans can get this information from?
All on my site at joshdennycomedy.com.
Okay. Well, you heard him, joshdennycomedy.com. You go there and get some information if you would like to participate in the making of this film, Provoked. It's definitely something that I want to catch. I would love to see. Just talking about it, I'm very interested in it already. And, hey, maybe the magazine can do whatever they can to help, along the way. You keep us posted, and we can keep fans posted as well. So when it comes out, we can maybe help promote that as well for you, and definitely come out and check it out in person, not just on whatever I can catch on YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't get everywhere like I'd like to, but this is always, something great that we can be able to see you at. Is there anything else that maybe you would like to add in? Anything you would like fans to know? Anything like any other, something maybe coming up in between the shows?
No, I would just say, in general, if people like comedy, go support it. Go to live shows and go support those comedians that you like, because that's really what we need. It's interesting. We kind of live in a world right now where it's a lot easier for people to kind of voice when they don't like something. And I've always said, the disappointing thing is that generally the people that like what you do just are very quiet and just kind of continue to take it in and enjoy it.
Yeah. But we definitely need more laughter out there for sure. So I'm one that I definitely go down. I go and I support our comedians. I go to all the local shows around here as well to support them as well. So we'll definitely come out and check you out. And I appreciate you taking the time, from your busy schedule to talk with us this morning. Again, I'm Dilly Briggs with Center Stage, speaking with the very funny comedian Josh Denny. Again, he does have a stand-up show that he hosts monthly in Santa Monica at the West Side Comedy Club, and for the comedy show, The Darkest Hour, starting at 11:30, and that is once a month on the second Friday. Is that what you said?
Yeah, second Friday of every month.
Second Friday of every month. So yeah, please go down and check him out and support all your local comedians. And we look forward for your new show, Provoked, coming out. And you just keep us updated. We'll also check on your website to stay updated on that. And I would love myself to be able to come down and participate a bit. So hopefully my schedule does allow it. Again, I had explained before, I'm a special needs family, so my schedule doesn't always allow for me to get everywhere. So when I can get out to see comedians or music or anything like that, I just love it, and it's just so much amplified for me. And I will definitely keep track of that and keep up on your on information so that I can maybe possibly come down and participate. I would love to do that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Josh. I appreciate you taking this time out to talk to us. And we will keep you updated, and we will keep the fans updated on everything you do.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right. You have a great evening. A great rest of the day, actually. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.